Our very first phylum is called Basilarophyta, and these are our diatoms. Diatoms are unicellular and they're photosynthetic. They have their secondary pigment as the carotenoids. Now, their dominant pigment is chlorophyll, but the carotenoids are going to be that yellowish orange, so the diatoms sort of have a golden look to them. And their body form is like a box, and we've talked about that before, but this has got a smaller, they're unequal halves, and one fits very neatly inside of the other, sort of like a box. What they do is, instead of storing their food as carbohydrates, they store their food as oil. Now, the oil is very nutritious and is a great food source for a lot of marine animals. So they are a very good food source, but they're very buoyant. Now, oil is a lot less dense than water, so these diatoms float very closely to the surface of the water, and that's where they can absorb their energy from the sun and carry out photosynthesis. So they store their food as oil. They're also sexual and asexual reproducers, and your book does show a picture of how this happens, but basically what happens is when they reproduce asexual, it's binary fission and they just split in half. But when they get to about a quarter of their original size, then they start producing gametes. So just know for them, they're sexual and asexual reproducers. All right, one of the cool things about the diatoms is their cell walls are made of silica. Now, the silica is very hard, and when long after the actual diatom dies, the silica in the cell wall, it lasts and it accumulates on the bottom of the ocean floor, and this is called diatomaceous earth. Now, you may have heard of diatomaceous earth before because it's collected and it's used very often as an abrasive or a filtering agent. Also, there's a couple of kinds. Commercial diatomaceous earth is used in pools. If you have a pool, your parents may use diatomaceous earth as a filtering agent. But one of the cool things about it is that it's an abrasive. So the shells are very often ground up and they're used in things like toothpaste. I know that in Crest, some of the ones for whitening have a real gritty kind of texture to it, and that's can be the shells of the diatoms. Also, the white lines that are painted on the street that have that sort of glittery look at nighttime, that is diatomaceous. Another use for it is in pearlescent paints. In paints, sometimes the stock cars in racing, they're painted that really pearly look, and that pearlescent paint is very often the shells. So it has a lot of uses in today's world. One of the things that you can do with diatomaceous earth is you can take it as a supplement, and I do know I have a couple of friends that take diatomaceous earth. It's just it does have sort of a gritty, kind of like salt or maybe finer than that texture. But what it does is it sort of cleans you out. It's an abrasive and it cleans you out. And if you think that you have some sort of parasite, and we've talked about this before, parasites are living organisms, and it's really hard to kill a living organism when it's inside of one. So very often the treatment is they will have you take this diatomaceous earth, and as the earthworm eats the diatomaceous earth, or not the earthworm, I'm sorry, when the parasite, the worm, eats the diatomaceous earth that you have eaten, then it ends up killing them. So very often it can have that role as well. So it does have a lot of different roles in the environment and as well as medicine. But like I said, if you're you can't. There is a commercial grade and there's another, a different kind of grade. So you would not want to, if your parents are adding diatomaceous earth to their pools as a filtering agent, that's not the kind that you would eat or take as a supplement.